Hey, what's up, VC? It's Steve again, Harmless Rebel. I'm gonna do a wet spinning tonight. I've been spinning music like crazy since I've been working from home. Mostly records for the last year and a half. And I had a huge pile of, there's still some here, but a huge, like 4 piles up to here of CDs. Stuff that I've bought over the last year, stuff that's been sent to me as gifts that I just hadn't gotten to. So I spent the last week and a half mostly just spinning CDs, trying to get through that. This is all stuff right here that is going to end up getting gifted to other people. There's 3 or 4 people that I'll be sending those to. But I finally made it through all of those CDs. I'll probably split this into 2 because there's a couple big stacks here, but just kind of jump in with what I've been spinning lately. This has been in heavy rotation since Scott Waters turned me on to. I'm actually, speaking of Scott Waters, that's what we're listening to in the background. I hope it's not too loud, but we're listening to Into the Pit. A bunch of these that I'm going to show are Christian metal, Christian thrash, and it's just because I ran into one of my local CD warehouses. Somebody's been slowly selling off their collection. I've just been finding a lot of stuff. This I already have multiple copies of, so I'm going to be gifting this to somebody, but that's what's playing in the background. This is probably my favorite of the Ultimatum albums, but I love them all, regardless. But speaking of Scott Waters, he turned me on to this band, I want to say shortly after this album came out. Maybe it was 2018 when he turned me on to him. And he ended up buying a bunch of their leftover copies on vinyl. And I ordered that right away. So it's been in heavy rotation for a couple of years now. But then he got a few copies of the CD signed by the singer. So I ended up getting one of those too. But this is the essence of Time Matches No Flesh from Madrost. Technical thrash. Really good. I mean, if you're into technical thrash, you're going to dig this. Their Pandora channel has become one of my probably the main thing I listen to when I'm working out. Really good workout music. And actually, just recently, I can't find it right now. Their debut album just got repressed by No Life Till Metal. Maleficent. Highly recommend picking that one up. That one's more straight up old school death metal. I love all 4 of their albums, but the debut is my favorite. And I listen to it all the time. It's still in heavy rotation. I've had a copy of that for 2 or 3 years, and that's probably one of my most played CDs in the last few years. But definitely check out Madrost. Let's see. Next up, it's funny enough, so I found this one at my local CD warehouse. I think I paid like $2 or $3. It says $8, but that's not what I paid for it. And then shortly after that, it was announced that this album, the album before it, and the album after it are all being repressed on vinyl. So I went ahead and grabbed those as well. But this is Dawkin, Long Way Home. If you're a big fan of the 80s, early 90s Dawkin, this probably isn't going to be for you. This is more, there are a couple hard rock songs, there's 1 or 2 songs that you may consider metal, but for the most part, this is melodic hard rock. Really good. I really enjoy it. It's the guitarist from Europe. Does it say what his name is? I can't think of what it is off the top of my head, but yeah, the guitarist from Europe on here. Definitely not the metal, but it's still, Dawn sounds killer on here. Just a really good, solid album. Next up, just a favorite of mine. I already have an original pressing of this. This is the reissue on Retroactive from like 2000. Does it say? Yeah, 2005. The original's from '93, and just a fantastic album. But this is Believer. What's this one? Dimensions. This one has 3 live tracks. I could live without them. The album itself is phenomenal. They've always been... what's the word I'm looking for? They've always been a little bit progressive. This is the most progressive of their albums, and I absolutely love it. I would really love to see the Believer stuff get pressed to vinyl. So good. Next up, this was done by Rocks. This is a repress of their original album from '96. This is Jesus Freaks. This one is good. Not as good as their debut, though. Rocks did like this bootleg version of it, just in a cardboard sleeve. Groove metal-ish. What year was this? 96. So, I mean, this is right in that groove metal. A little late, but still kind of in that groove metal era. I prefer their first album, which was thrash, but still pretty cool. There's still some really good songs on there. Next up, this album, when this one came out, it still gets held as one of the, I've heard it listed as one of the 20 most important albums of all time. I would say that that's definitely a stretch. It is a cool album. This is Refuse, The Shape of Punk to Come. It is cool how they mix some of the genres here. So I had an original pressing of this on vinyl. I ended up selling it about a year ago. It just wasn't a very good sounding pressing, and I know there were a couple guys that were fighting over it when I put it on the auction. But it really is a good album. One of the most, I wouldn't call it a super important album. I don't think most actual punks would call this a super important album. It's just one of those things that the press like to grab onto and sensationalize. It is cool. They kind of mix punk and metal, a little bit of jazz and metalcore, and it's cool. It's not a great album, but it's a really cool album. Definitely worth checking out if you're into if that mix of genres sounds good to you. Next, actually, speaking of Scott Waters again, he was in this band for a short time. However, he did not do the vocals on this one. This is Once Dead, Visions of Hell. So the guys from Vengeance Rising got back together with Scott on vocals to do some shows. They originally were going to just be Vengeance Rising. And then they decided to change the name, and they went with Once Dead, which was the name of one of their albums, one of the Vengeance Rising albums. So Scott did a bunch of shows with them, and then they ended up parting ways. I got another singer and recorded this. It's a really good album with really bad production. If you're a huge Vengeance Rising fan, it's still a good album to have. I still like listening to it. It's just the production... it definitely hurts the album. And then the album cover, it's just it's going to be hard to see on here. It's just so hard to read what it actually is. But Once Dead. Next up, this is an album that people have either loved or hated. I absolutely love it. I remember Rob Caldwell listing it as one of his favorite albums of the year. And then a lot of people hate it for what it is. This is Lynch Mob, Wicked Sensation Reimagined. Dawkin just got together. I can't remember what the other guy's name was. But they got together and decided to re-record these tracks how they would play them today. And it's phenomenal. I love the original, but I love this too. I think these might still be available. The vinyl sold out quick. I was lucky enough to get one. Actually, I was lucky enough to get 2 of those, and ended up gifting one to somebody. But this is awesome. If you like the Lynch Mob, you're gonna love this. This is a deluxe edition. I don't know if you can kind of see it. It's signed by both guys, and some stickers and I've got Dawkin in my head obviously because of Lynch, but by George Lynch pick. Next one's not metal. I love this album. I like pulling it out from time to time. It just kind of gives you a view of what some of the best musicians of all time, just when they're screwing around in the studio. But this is the complete $1 Million Quartet. Elvis, Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Johnny Cash. If you've ever been to Sun Studios in Memphis, there's a huge picture of this on the wall. They love telling the story of this. But basically, when was it? December 4th, 56. So Elvis was already a huge name. His debut album had already come out. Johnny Cash had already had some big name singles. But Jerry Lee Lewis, I think Carl Perkins might have had 1 or 2 hits already too. Jerry Lee Lewis was an unknown at this time, though. They were actually in there. I believe he was recording his first album. But fate had it that they just all 4 ended up being there at the same time for different reasons. And this is the full release. There was a shorter version of this for years, but this is 47 tracks. A lot of them are just the guys screwing around, talking. But what's cool about this, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, it's too much on here. There's early versions of Elvis songs that would later be released on his second album that came out about 6 months later, that didn't have all the crazy production and stuff. These are rawer versions, and it's really cool to just listen to this. So if you run across it, I got this at a dollar store. If you run across it, grab it, though. It's cool to spin from time to time. Next up, one of the greats, Mr. Bruce Dickinson. I ran across these deluxe editions and had to grab them, but this is Accident of Birth, the best Iron Maiden album that wasn't done by Iron Maiden. It's you've got Bruce and Adrian here, and they just murder it. It just blows away any of the other 90s era's Iron Maiden albums. It's so good. I would love to hear Iron Maiden do some of these songs. It would be phenomenal. This deluxe edition, though, has a bunch of demos. The Spanish version of Man of Sorrows, which I think it was a B-side on the single as well. I'd have to pull it out, but I believe so. But really cool. And I love that, so there were 2 or 3 different album covers of Accident at Birth. Well, this is a expanded out, a pulled out version where you actually see the dude that he's popping out of, which is really cool. And then, of course, you've got this. And this was Derek Riggs, if I remember correctly. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was, who also did all the Iron Maiden artwork. Sorry, my allergies are really bad tonight. And then we've got I believe this was the next album, The Chemical Wedding. This one's a bit confusing. So apparently The Chemical Wedding was the name of a book. And the story from the book is not what he's talking about in the album, which is a concept album, I guess. And then you've got the artwork, and I guess it all has to do with alchemy. A lot of people were upset over the song Jerusalem, and I guess basically it's in the song. They blow the horn, or was it Jerusalem? Or Trumpets of Jericho. So in his version of this, or in this song, the Jews blow the trumpets, but the walls don't come down. And he said it's not religious; it has to do with alchemy, as does the whole album. It's just a bit confusing. But that being said, I mean, it still sounds phenomenal. I still recommend grabbing it. These are probably my 2 favorite of the Dickinson solo album. This one, definitely. But next up, Red Ink. This is not a band that I was familiar with. It's one that Rocks did. A couple people talked it up to me, and so I went ahead and grabbed it. It's pretty good. Death Thrash. I was really feeling this one. I couldn't get a whole lot of information about the band itself, though. I don't think there was... Maybe I just had to read in here. No, it looks like it's basically just lyrics. Regardless, though, I got this one on discount from Rocks. Definitely worth checking out. I did really enjoy this one. Next up, Battle Beast. Bringer of Pain. This is their second to last album. It's good. It's good Battle Beast. I really dig this band. However, their primary songwriter, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, was one of the guitarists. He left before this album, and you could definitely hear it. The songs are just not as good on this album without him there. He started a new band called Beast in Black, which is phenomenal. If you like the early Battle Beast, where it's power metal with those 80s synths, with male vocals as opposed to the female vocals of Battle Beast, it's phenomenal. I don't have their brand new album that just came out, but I have the last one, and I was blown away by it. But Battle Beast, it's still a great album. It's just not as good as it would have been had he been writing the songs. Another one I got from Rocks recently. This is, I don't know if it's Motovic or Motovic. Death of the Gunman. I guess it's a local band here in Atlanta. But it's only two guys. It's one guy doing all the instruments and one guy on vocals. So I don't know that we'll see any shows from these guys, but I was really digging this one. Country western thrash, I guess. Next up, Sacred Warrior. Again, part of that collection I bought. I had never seen this one. This is classics, and that's what it is. It's the best of. Phenomenal compilation. If you're a fan of Sacred Warrior, definitely worth grabbing. Tourniquet, same thing. I didn't know that this was a greatest hits. I actually bought this direct from the band. I didn't look. I saw new from Tourniquet. It's called the Epic Tracks. That should have given it away to me. This is a really good greatest hits, though. Really covers the whole breadth of their work. So you've got their early straight up thrash, straight into their Metal Blade stuff, which is some of my favorite from Tourniquet, up to the last few albums. I mean, it's just a little bit of everything there. Really fun listen. I've actually been spinning this one quite a bit, so definitely worth having. I wish they would do that on vinyl. So next up, a whole bunch of Deliverance. This was all part of that collection I was talking about, and I have all but one of these on CD and a few of these on vinyl as well. However, these are all originals except for this. Oh, no, I take that back. These two are represses, and there's a couple originals here. So this is considered by a lot of people to be the worst album cover of all time. I thought it was the dumbest album cover when I first saw it, but it's grown on me, and I actually prefer this over the original album cover. But this is What a Joke from Deliverance. Absolutely phenomenal album. I love this album. Their third album, I believe, and it's just phenomenal. And I mean, the What a Joke. That it's kind of got the SOD thing going. So there's a 4-second song, a 17-second song, a 39-second song, a minute 42. Half of this is just really killer thrash, and half of it's just silly stuff, and I love all of it. This is the original cover right here, and this is the one that came out with this version, but it's cool. I've always wanted to have the album with this version, with this cover. This was just released on vinyl too. I have a copy sitting over there, so looking forward to spinning that. Next up, River Disturbance. A lot of people did not like this album. It's a little bit more melodic. You've got Jimmy P. Brown with his... if you've never heard Jimmy P. Brown sing, his early thrash, he's got the thrash vocals. I believe the album before this is where he really started just singing. He sounds just like Bowie. And this is more a melodic metal album. Still really good. Actually, he talks about it at the end of this. There's a couple minutes of him just discussing the album, and he talks about how when this album came out, everybody hated it. He said there wasn't a single good review, and then within a few years, people were saying that this was the album to hear in their collection, kind of the dark horse in their collection. But fantastic album again. I love this album cover. I don't think it shows the other album cover, and I don't have it around me. Scott Waters, I don't remember if it was No Life Till Metal or Rocks that reissued this, but they reissued it with the original album cover, which I've never liked. I really like this artwork. Phenomenal album. Next up, a lot of people turned away from the band on this album. I personally really like it, but I understand, had I heard this when it first came out, I would be disappointed too. The band had split up for quite a while. This was 2001. So they had split up for about 5 years and came back with this. And I guess it was advertised as them going back to their roots, and it's not. It's just not as heavy as their earlier stuff. It's the clean vocals. Like I said, I personally like this. I didn't hear this one until it was re-released a couple years ago. So I kind of get as a fan why they would be disappointed. It's probably my least favorite of the Deliverance albums, but it's still a killer album. Then after the disappointment of that, they came with this one, As Above, So Below, and just kind of blew everybody away. This thing is heavy. Fantastic album. This one just got repressed too with a better album cover. This one just got repressed. This one just got repressed. Highly recommend checking this one out. And then last from the Deliverance is Camelot and Smithereens. So the story behind this one is this was supposed to be their swan song, their final album. The band was splitting up after this. Jimmy P. Brown had this grand concept in mind, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it was the label saying no, this wasn't the vision he was looking for. Fans, everybody I've talked to loves this album. I think it's phenomenal. But Jimmy P. Brown doesn't like it. Now, I don't know if they're in production now or if they've completed production, but he is redoing this album the way he wanted to do it. I believe it's going to be a legit double album. So I am looking forward to that. That being said, this is phenomenal. Highly recommend checking this one out too. Let's see where we at. We'll keep going. Finish this first pile up, I guess. These next two, Impending Doom. I'm not into a big fan of core, whether it's metalcore or deathcore or post-hardcore, whatever it may be. However, there are a couple of deathcore bands that I do really like, where it sounds more like progressive death to me than deathcore, but one of those bands is Impending Doom. This is my favorite of the Impending Doom albums. There Will Be Violence. Phenomenal album. I would start here if you're interested in checking them out. This is their second to last album. No, this is still a couple albums ago too. But this is The Serpent's Servant. I don't think this one is as good as this one. I may be getting them backwards. It may have been this one I liked better. Check them both out. Impending Doom, really good deathcore. Speaking of Ultimatum, I already had this. However, Retroactive re-released it with 2 more songs, Sins of Omission and Burn. Phenomenal covers album from Ultimatum. Highly recommend grabbing this one. Ton of Bricks and Ton of Bricks, Moto Psycho, and what was the other one? Wrathchild are my favorite tracks on here, but I like this whole album. I know I was just talking to Scott the other day and this came up, and I can't remember. Metal Health he wasn't super excited about doing that one. It's still like one of the least favorite tracks he ever recorded, but I dig it. Definitely worth having. Next up, this one's pretty cool. However, now I'll just say it's pretty cool. So this is Blackmore's Rainbow. This is back in 2016 when he decided to reemerge and record Rainbow tracks again. He's been doing I can't even remember what the name of his other band is. Blackmore's Night. He's been doing that Renaissance metal, I guess. I've never really checked it out. I remember hearing like one song and it wasn't for me, and I never checked it out. He's got like 7 or 8 Blackmore's Night albums though. But I was really excited to hear he was doing this concert. I believe Greg the Egg went to this, but this is live in Birmingham 2016. It's a double disc. It's a really good mix of Rainbow and Deep Purple tracks. It's good. The Rainbow stuff is my favorite. The Deep Purple stuff, it really comes down to the mixing. A lot of the time, the keyboards are just really far in the back, and especially with the Deep Purple stuff, it needs to be further up. And it's not even that Blackmore's guitar is way up in the front. It's just not the best. Whoever mixed it didn't do the best job, but it's still really cool to hear Blackmore playing the Rainbow and the Deep Purple tracks again. And I can't remember the vocalist's name. Let's see if it says it. I wasn't familiar with him or any of the bands that he's been in. Yeah, I'm not going to find it here. He's really good too, though. So definitely worth checking out. And then let me see. I think we'll do another video for the others. This one was VCLT from Scott Waters. War Beast BCAD. This is a live set, and then the DVD. Unfortunately, this was in here so tight that when I went to pop it off, I don't know if you can see it, the CD literally broke in half. There we go. Which sucks. However, I went online and checked out this band. Just really killer thrash from Texas. Definitely worth checking them out. So that's War Beast. And then last but not least, also VCLT from Scott. I've had a copy of this since it came out. But this is the dual disc with the concert on the back on DVD. So pulled this out and gave it a bunch of spins. It's just rocking the joint with Aerosmith. Phenomenal. That's it, guys. I'll do a part 2 for the rest of them. Take care. See you soon.